Oh snap! What a transition! And our mic works this week now.
Yeah. Back and louder, better than ever.
So we didn't notice it until about 5 minutes ago, so a week after the fact. But the mic was on the different cardioid setting, like a hardware setting on the back of the mic. So that's why it was super quiet last week. So we apologize, but I think it was still audible. You can still listen to the podcast. You just have to crank up the volume like all the way.
Yeah.
Whether you're on Spotify or YouTube or whatever. But it's fine. We'll survive. We got it fixed this week. That way you can hear us loud and clear. But yeah, welcome again to another episode of the Let's Talk About It podcast. We are episode 7.
7, I believe.
I want to say 7, yeah.
Season 2.
How is it that we lose count every single episode?
I think it's the fact that when we were live, we'd have to change the number every day, and now that we're not live, it doesn't make us do that first.
Yeah, you're right. So I guess we'll get used to that. But anyway, regardless of what episode number it is, we're doing another episode, and that's what's important.
See.
Yeah. Well, if we do one every week, that means we're going to have, 52 episodes a year?
Yeah, a season.
Oh, do we want to split up halfway through the year?
With the exception of holidays.
True. I know I'm already taking some trips this year, at least 2, where I may not be here for a podcast night. At least for one of them, actually, because that's going to be a whole week that I'm going to be in New York. So that's that. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Hopefully we can get other people to join the podcast again.
Well, if all goes well, Jason should be returning.
Soon.
Next week, I believe.
Alright,
He's supposed
soon.
to get his mic Friday.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is he getting a headset mic, or is he going to get a proper mic? Or
Probably a headset mic, just for the simple fact that he games all the time and doesn't have a mic for that.
True. And then Omar. I'm calling you out right now, Omar. You just not have been there.
Whack.
The
way that he doesn't even show up to podcasts.
Whack. Me? I'm tight as fuck! But, yeah, oh well. Whoever wants to join can join. And if you don't want to join, that's fine. It's fine. As long as we have our lovely and loyal listeners, that's what I care about. I haven't checked last week's episode, but we've been doing pretty good on listeners so far. 8 listens per episode.
Really?
Which isn't a lot. Well, yeah, that was the last time we checked.
Oh, yeah. It's better than our live viewership was, so.
Yeah, that was cruising at 0 for a long time. So, I'd say 8 listens is an improvement. And 2 or 3 views on the YouTube posts for the podcast. So
no, not too shabby.
Not too shabby. Not at all. But that's with no marketing, quote unquote, effort put into the podcast.
True as well.
We could be paying for ad space on Facebook, and we could be promoting stuff, and we could sticker slap all over downtown or whatever. But we don't do that. We literally just post on social media. So there's that.
To the select few, you're very welcome.
Yeah. So, select few, the elite core of you guys who listen to the podcast. But anyways, we'll dive right into our stories for this week. We got some juicy ones, some stories that you'll be able to listen to without cranking your volume all the way up.
And hopefully some stories that aren't only 30 minutes long.
Yeah, we blasted through the stories last week. Which was really uncharacteristic, but we know why.
Yes.
Blasted through the stories. But anyway, we'll get there fast, and we'll take things slow, like Kokomo. But I'll go ahead and start off like usual with our stories. Story number 1. We'll have some Intel stories now that we're done covering AMD stuff. Although we still have AMD stuff down the pipe, don't worry. My loyal AMD fans out there. But we're starting with Intel today. We have a story straight out of the rumor mill for Intel, where Intel's 10th gen processors, they haven't been announced, but they are for sale, which is strange. The new 10th gen Intel processors have engineering samples that were created and have been sent out to reviewers. And some of these engineering samples are actually available for you to buy on Taobao, which is like a Chinese reseller, kind of like an eBay but for China. And they actually ship stuff to the U.S. So if you want to buy something from China, you can go to Taobao and buy it there. Low down on these new 10th gen processors. These, again, they're engineering samples, so they may not be the final product. But these engineering samples range in between 15 to 20% more powerful than the current gen Intel CPUs, which is nice. But again, these processors have not been officially announced by Intel. Which leads us to believe that these new processors are going to be coming to market very shortly, especially if engineering samples are out and you can buy them straight from China. I think that they're going to be like a surprise launch. Like one morning we're just going to wake up and there's going to be all of our favorite tech YouTubers like Bitwit, Paul's Hardware, Jay's 2 Cents, Linus Tech Tips, Gamers Nexus. They'll all have their reviews for the chips up. And then they'll go on sale the same day. That's usually how it goes when launches are kind of like under the radar per se.
Just waiting for that embargo to lift.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows? Maybe these chips are being tested as we speak. But all these reviewers especially on YouTube, are like under NDA for it or something. A little more information specifically about these chips there. The flagship is a 10-core Intel Core i9 10900K. Again, rumored name, but it's a weird one. It has a reported 5.1 gigahertz single core boost and a 5.3 gigahertz single core velocity boost. So it's kind of like a peak boost core. Like that's the highest it will go to. Kind of like AMD's boost clocks and their game clocks for their GPUs. The boost clock is what the GPU can consistently run at if it's under stress, and then the game clock is like the maximum frequency that it can reach, but it won't stay that frequency for too long because it's obviously too much for the physical hardware to handle. So I think that's what the case is here with that 5.1 gigahertz single core boost and a 5.3 gigahertz single core velocity boost is. But again, these are just rumors for things that have been seen on online benchmarks. So unconfirmed until we get the official reviews on these chips. Some specific numbers is the Time Spy benchmark for the CPU is a score of 13,142, which is 19.5% higher than the current Intel Core i9 9900K's chip average score of 10,997. So that's a sizable improvement for the new chip. There is that's not the only chip that was rumored or that's purchasable along with the other specs here. The other chips include Core i9 10900 non-K variant, so you can't overclock that one. That's also a 10-core and 20-thread CPU. There's also a Core i7 10700K, which is an 8-core 16-thread CPU. And a Core i5 10600K, which is a 6-core and 12-thread CPU. Interestingly enough, that chip has the highest base clock out of all these chips at 4.1 gigahertz, whereas the others are like 3.8 in the case of the i7 10700K and 3.7 in the Core i9 10900K. So Intel's definitely going after the Ryzen 3000 series chips right here. All that's going to matter is the pricing, though, to me. Because these are seemingly impressive chips, but if they're $100 or even $50 more than the Ryzen 3rd generation chips that are out right now,
people are just going to go to Ryzen.
Like, because the Ryzen chips will still be a better value.
Yeah.
Even if the price to performance between the Ryzen and these new Intel chips are the same, the Ryzens are still going to be cheaper. And we're going to see price cuts on the Ryzen 3rd gen when 4th gen comes out, which should be relatively soon. So we'll have to hold our breath for that one, especially since these chips are just not out yet or even officially announced. Let's see here. Some other details that I want to make sure that I don't miss about these new Intel chips, saying that we've been very AMD biased in our stories. So I want to give Intel their fair share in the spotlight here while we can, while they have something interesting for us to talk about, because that doesn't always happen, to be honest. As far as the chips that you can buy right now on Taobao, you can purchase the Core i5 10600K and non-K models. So, if you want to buy a early sample of Intel's newest chips, then you can do that. As far as pricing goes, let's see here. The article doesn't list pricing for this. I'm pretty sure if I just did some extra digging, I could find a yen to USD converter and find out how much it would cost. But I'm too lazy to do that, so I'm not going to do that. Especially since I just bought a laptop, which is working pretty well, I should say. Moving on, another Intel story here. This one's actually some more news about Intel's Xe GPU that we've been talking about and has been discussed in the rumors for quite some time now. Intel has confirmed that the Xe graphics cards, multiple, mind that, graphics cards, will be launching in late 2020. And that the GPU architecture and kind of how the process and how the GPU die works and goes through instruction sets, that's going to be unveiled at the Games Developers Conference in 2020. Which is exciting that they've told us that they're going to be letting us know about that at GDC this year. So like we have essentially a confirmed date as to when we will be learning more about the Intel GPU. So can't wait for that. Let's see here. I have to read through all the details because it's a lot of details here, especially for this one. Intel entering the GPU market, they have to nail it.
Yeah.
For this to be even remotely successful in a market that's dominated by AMD and Nvidia, which both hold their place right now in their respective GPU markets, because Nvidia's got the high end tied up, whereas AMD has the price to performance ratios for the lower end all nice and tied up. I think that Intel has to just Intel has to beat both Nvidia and AMD at their respective ball games in the GPU market to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other terms, or in layman's terms, the Intel GPU has to perform better than Nvidia's cards for a better price value than AMD's, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the only way I see them being successful, at least in the consumer market, right?
Yeah, just because, for the simple fact that NVIDIA and AMD have been doing those for so long, for Intel to just jump in and be like, alright, we're going to try this now too. Like, if they don't nail it, they could potentially lose a lot of money and be like, alright, we're not doing that again.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially because the two major players are AMD and Nvidia. That's a very, very controlled market.
Mm-hmm.
In that, even though they're competitors with each other, AMD and Nvidia can still sit down together and kind of be like, hey, like, we both want to make the most money possible, so how about your business plan, takes care of the high end of the GPUs while we take care of the low end GPUs, and then we all make our money.
Yeah.
That way, and then they just artificially increase the price. I have no doubt in my mind that has happened recently.
I could see that.
Yeah. So with Intel kind of jumping in here, maybe Intel doesn't want to play ball like that.
Right.
And they just want to disrupt the market to the point where they can basically take over,
mm-hmm.
And then force Nvidia and AMD to kind of get their heads into the game for a competitive product rather than strictly profit margins. That's me wishful thinking, though.
I do feel like, however, they will sell quite a bit just for the simple fact that it is Intel, and people are going to be very curious to see what they're capable of in that market,
mm-hmm.
because they have been around for so long. and it's not like they're a small company. They definitely have the funds to throw at this to make it as big or as small as they want.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. One other thing that actually just popped into my mind is that people are going to get super excited about all Intel builds now. No, and all AMD builds have been a thing for a long, long time. But if you were not an AMD fan, you'd have to go for an Intel build with NVIDIA graphics.
Mm-hmm.
So this time you can get an all Intel build with an Intel graphics card.
I would imagine too, if Intel was smart, they could sell pre-built gaming Intel PCs at a cheaper price because it's all of their own parts.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see it working out in a really good way for consumers, but that's assuming Intel doesn't get greedy.
Yeah, which they will. Like they will. They're an electronics manufacturing company. They will. But another thing that I actually just considered right now as well is partnerships with other companies. So, for example, right now EVGA has an exclusivity contract with like motherboards with Intel. EVGA does not make any AMD motherboards, and they haven't, as far as I know. And they make some kick-ass motherboards for Intel too. They make the Z, what is it? I think it's the Z390 dark motherboard for high-end Intel chips. Basically, it's like a $400 board. ATX board, but it has cooling across all the VRMs, all of the MOSFETs, any of the heat generating components of the board are actively cooled. And actually Gamers Nexus uses the EVGA dark board for a lot of their liquid nitrogen overclocking for their Intel chips. And it has like built-in like liquid nitrogen settings in the BIOS for overclocking. Like, this board is nuts. Like, if I had an Intel build, I would want that board. And EVGA also has an exclusivity contract with NVIDIA. So EVGA does not make any AMD graphics cards. They only make NVIDIA graphics cards. So I'm thinking that EVGA is going to break the exclusivity contract with NVIDIA so they can also make graphics cards for Intel.
I could see that, especially if they're already doing motherboards. Imagine if they went full exclusivity with just Intel for like more money, because Intel totally could if they wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. And EVGA makes solid graphics cards.
Yeah,
like some of the best NVIDIA cards you can get are EVGAs. I want an EVGA. My 1050 Ti was an EVGA, or no, it was an Asus. But before then, I had before my 1050 Ti, I had a 1060 3GB card that I dropped on the floor and it broke.
Oof.
But I love that card. It was such a good card. It ran quiet, it ran cool. I really had no problems with it. I really enjoyed the design. It's really minimalistic. It wasn't flary. I miss that card, to be honest.
If I was to ever have a full Intel build, I wouldn't want it to be flary. I'd want it to be like all business. All business. Because when you think Intel, the first thing that comes to mind is not RGBs. Just colorful popping. Like, I'd want it to be sleek and nice.
Yeah, performance.
The Tesla of desktops.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I mean, I kind of went away from like flashy LED RGB things kind of a while ago. I think they're nice, but for a PC build, it adds a lot of money. Like, there's definitely an RGB tax.
What's funny is before I got my PC, I was like, I don't understand RGBs at all. And then I got mine, and I have just a little bit of color in there from my graphics card and motherboard, and I'm like, I need more color.
Now you want RGB RAM, you want RGB fans, like, you want RGB, LED strips for the edge of your computer. It's addicting, man. So I don't blame you.
It's almost like getting a tattoo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't have a tattoo.
You just want more.
Yeah. Absolutely. So don't get caught. An RGB tattoo, dude.
That'd be pretty sick.
We'll make it happen.
If we can make robots that sweat, I'm pretty sure we can make.
Yeah. Little warm robots that sweat. But yeah, so that's that. Kind of to reiterate, the game's developers conference is very very soon, March 16th. So that's almost exactly a month from now, minus 3 days. So then is when we'll get more information on Intel's new graphics card. The architecture is reportedly 10 nanometer for the GPU, only because Intel has had problems with shrinking their nanometer lithography process. They've been having lots of problems with that. And they had lots of problems with 10 nanometer for their processors as well, but that was a while ago. They've seemingly overcome the roadblocks with that. I'm not an Intel insider, so I don't know how true that is, but reportedly they've ironed out the kinks with that. So we're expecting this new graphics card to have that. So that's enough of Intel for today. We've covered their unannounced CPUs and GPUs. The next story here, and this is gonna sound like music to Intel fans' ears, but basically all of AMD's 5700 series graphics cards, so the regular 5700 and the 5700 XTs, have had complaints not only by the customers, or us, the consumers, for driver issues which have been plaguing the products for a long time now, and AMD has not fixed it. But also the manufacturers are also complaining about AMD's graphics as well, specifically Asus, because of overheating issues with the GPUs. So what's going on is that AMD designs the GPUs, right? And with partners like PowerColor, Asus, ASRock, AMD sells these GPU dies to these partners, and the partners design a board around this GPU. So they get to decide, the VRMs on the card, the board layout, the size, the slot width, all that jazz. But along with that, AMD provides build specs to these partners. So they tell them, don't put more than this because that's more than the GPU needs for power consumption and energy efficiency. And the problem that Asus specifically has had with AMD is that in those build specs that AMD hands over to the partners, in this case Asus, AMD guided Asus to whatever cooler design they created for these GPUs. The spec lists the cooler to be mounted to the board with the force of about 30 or 40 psi, like with the screws.
Yeah.
But apparently that's not making enough contact with the GPU to cool it efficiently. And it's between 50 and 60 psi that these screws need to be torqued down to in order to provide the proper mounting pressure to cool the GPU. And so, again, Asus has had this problem, and a lot of other people have this with their custom 5700 and 5700 XTs as well. But Asus has publicly voiced their problem with this and basically pointed the finger at AMD, saying they spec'd us, this mounting pressure, but it really should be this one. So they're telling their customers, send in your Asus, AMD graphics cards, and we'll basically fix that issue. Because it's not as simple as tightening down the screws. Mm-hmm. You have to have a different size of screw with the same thread measurement. Because if you just tighten down the screws that it has, you're going to break your board because they weren't designed for that mounting pressure. Luckily, it's an relatively easy fix. But of course, that's going to cost Asus money, not AMD.
And it's super inconvenient.
Yeah. It tarnishes Asus's reputation as a board partner, not AMD's. Which is why Asus was pointing the finger to AMD.
Yeah, because it's when you get these pieces, since they're sold separately like that, like to the partners, when you get them, they have the partner's name on it. It's not like, and usually that's really big on there, so yeah. People are like, what the heck?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, me personally, I don't hold Asus blameless for this, to be honest. Asus does share some blame in this. Even though AMD provides certain spec numbers for building GPUs, it's still Asus's responsibility to engineer the custom card and to test it.
Yeah.
It's part of quality control.
Mm-hmm.
And if Asus missed that part of quality control when they designed their GPUs, guess what? That's their fault.
Yeah.
Especially when the board partners have a good amount of liberty when it comes to designing these custom boards for their graphics cards. Like, if you're putting the research and development into this, then you should have no problem.
Yeah.
Like, other companies do it just fine. Other companies, like, for example, which one was it? It was the XFX Thick Boy 2. That's the name of the graphics card. That graphics card did not have proper mounting pressure on other parts of the GPU, and that would cause that GPU to overheat as well. They have since released the Thick Boy 3, which fixes that issue. And the graphics card is essentially successful.
I want that just for the name.
Right? Yeah, the Thick Boy 3. But yeah, XFX starting like a year and a half ago started naming cards like that. So they have like the Fat Boy.
That's great.
The Fat Boy RX 590 from the last gen graphics cards and 580. Yeah, cool naming convention. But I digress. The lesson here is that board partners have the responsibility to engineer their own custom cards. If they were just slapping their name on a AMD provided card and selling it as their own, then they could completely blame AMD. But in this case, they can't. They're not blameless. And so that's my issue there. But I do place a majority of the blame on AMD for providing incorrect specs for their board partners, because that sucks. It's not what a partnership's about, you know? Woo! I'm a gassy guy today. Anyway, moving on from that AMD, just the last bit of tech news. Dang, I'm killing it today. I've killed so much time today with tech news. We've had good stories. I'm not rushing through them like last week. But I promise this is the last tech story for the day. And it has nothing to do with Intel or AMD. It actually has to do with other big tech players, which are Samsung and Qualcomm. So, this news broke out early yesterday morning, February 18th. Today is the 19th of February when we're recording this podcast. But Samsung won the bidding war to produce the next set of Qualcomm Snapdragon modems for mobile platforms, everything that goes in smartphones and tablets. These new chips that Samsung will be manufacturing for Qualcomm will be on the 5nm process, which, from what I understand, is the smallest process for consumer devices, smaller than the past reigning king of AMD, which was 7nm. So Qualcomm announced that its Snapdragon X60 modem will be manufactured by Samsung, who won the contract. The X60 modem is not only a 5nm node modem there, but it is also going to be a 5G modem that they're going to be putting in, like their Snapdragon processors and basically anyone else who wants to buy this modem from Qualcomm to put into their systems on a chip. From what I understand here, Samsung, the way that they have achieved this new small 5nm process is by using ultraviolet lithography, which is a new process compared to just like the traditional lithography process of the 7nm chips or any of Intel's other CPU processes for that. Don't ask me the specifics because I just know the basics of how chips are created. Basically, there's this big circle of silicon that a laser shines through a bunch of different lenses to basically laser the chip design on this circular wafer of silicon, and it basically grows the chip that way because they're tiny. And we're talking about nanometers, like the size of an electron wide, which is tiny. So 5 electrons wide is 5nm. Yeah, tiny. So it's not like you can just design it by hand. Like literally light laser is the tool we have to use because it's the only tool small enough to make these processors now. And with these processors being so complicated, that's how it works basically. But yeah, so new stuff from Samsung with 5nm, new lithography. and we should be expecting this technology to make its way to our smartphones and tablets within the coming year and a half or so. So expecting, good 5G performance, higher instructions per clock when it comes to, Snapdragon processors specifically. I'm pretty sure Samsung, once they get this contract rolling for the Qualcomm X60 modem, that's going to attract a lot of customers to Samsung for producing their 5nm processors, whether that's for GPUs or CPUs, or anything that they want, really, on that process. So exciting stuff there. Again, we're not going to see this for quite some time. But it's good news for Samsung, because I think right now they're the number 2 chip producer in the world. They fight, or they're constantly fluxing between the first and the second largest chip producer in the world. I think they are kind of like fighting with a TSMC, which produced all of the AMD chips. But we'll see. Samsung, they're pioneers, absolutely. So I'm rooting for them if they can bring better technology to the world.
I highly believe they can.
Yeah, they're capable. They definitely can. But with that being said, that is all the tech news that I have to give to you guys today. So Ruben, the floor is yours.
Alrighty, sir. Well, first up, I got a couple of stories still related to coronavirus.
Woo!
The first one up is a report claims that Nintendo is facing a global Switch shortage because of the coronavirus.
Oh.
And basically, this new report comes from Bloomberg. Anonymous sources have told the outlet that supply issues in China might soon begin to affect output at Nintendo's assembly factory in Vietnam, which is where consoles are bound for the U.S. are constructed.
Wow, Vietnam, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
They claim that because Switch shipments for February and March are already en route to the States, consumers in the West won't feel the impact until about April.
It was quite a ways away.
But, I mean, time does fly, and it will be here before long. This is also shortly after they announced all of the new Switch colors that are going to be coming, the light colors, which is actually another story that I have.
And we'll get to that here soon.
Yes. Let's see here. Oh, what happened?
Yeah, well, specifically about the impact not being felt till about April, I wonder how much that's actually going to matter, just because of people's market interest in the Switch, and especially in Western audiences like ours.
And I feel like so many people have already bought into the Switch. It's going to be... I doubt we'll feel a major impact, especially if coronavirus gets under wraps, because who knows, it could all be solved by then.
Yeah. And on top of that, all the Asian markets get all the cool Switches anyway.
Yeah.
We saw that with the DS. We saw that with all the, basically any console that came out. There were cooler versions of it in Asian markets that we just didn't get here in the Western markets, unfortunately.
And then, of course, a Nintendo spokesperson said, "We don't see any major impact on shipments currently, but we will remain vigilant and take steps if necessary. It's possible the supply will be affected, so it's not it's obviously not guaranteed. No one can see in the future."
Yeah, it's not a nail in the coffin. Nintendo has a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of money.
But, I mean, it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. My other coronavirus news story is Sony has backed out of PAX East.
Yeah.
Which is a big name to back out of PAX.
Yeah.
Especially since they were supposed to show off so many great games and have demos ready available for people to try.
Mm-hmm. I bet lots of people were really looking forward to a lot of those.
For sure. Just amongst those demos, of course, you have Marvel's Iron Man VR, Neo 2, Doom Eternal, Spelunky 2, and of course, the biggest one that, to me anyways, The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah. Dude, I know everyone's hyped about The Last of Us Part 2, but Spelunky's getting a sequel?
Yeah.
I was like, wait. Spelunky 2.
But, oh man, that is gonna be a long wait for Last of Us.
Yeah.
I doubt they're gonna end up putting out demos on the PlayStation Store.
It'd be cool if they did.
It would, but with as many people who data mine, I'm sure they'd be able to get in and find some stuff that Sony doesn't want found yet.
Yeah. Well, question: When was the first time we got that sneak peek trailer of The Last of Us Part 2? It feels like it was forever ago.
I believe it was PAX last year.
Was it? No. It feels like it was a lot longer than that.
I could be very wrong. I'm gonna have to fact check that.
Yeah. That we have to do a quick Google search on that.
But let's see. Obviously, this isn't the first time, coronavirus has affected certain gaming events or other events. In relation to this, Overwatch announced that it's going to temporarily relocate its Chinese teams to South Korea, and that they're going to try and find a way to still have their tournament. So, but
now the coronavirus is going to make its way to South Korea.
You heard it here first. But oh man, I'm guessing they're still gonna, since the demo's not gonna be available. I'm saying it's not gonna be available because I don't see them releasing it on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah,
It's
too big of a deal to just do that.
Yeah, I do, however, see. Hopefully, we'll be able to see the last time we got that footage. Hopefully we'll be able to see more footage in maybe a different area of the game or what the demo would have been. I would imagine they would have to release some kind of new trailer instead of just avoiding it altogether, but who knows?
Yeah, maybe some information. So we got to get something to chew on. They have to keep our interest peaked. They have to.
I mean, to be fair, it does make it makes me even more impatient for this game, even though I'm not going to be able to get it right away. Just knowing that I'm not going to see more of it right away is
yeah it makes us anxious.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then let's see, my next story, more Google Stadia news.
Oh boy.
They announced that they're going to be working on some more Android phones starting on February 20th. This includes phones from Samsung, Asus, and Razer. Up until this point, since release, Stadia has only worked on certain Pixel phones.
Yeah.
They released a list of the 19 newly supported phones, which is Samsung Galaxy S8, S8 Plus,
Wow.
S8 Active, Galaxy Note 8, Galaxy S9, S9 Plus, Note 9.
Woo! I had that one.
Galaxy S10, S10e, S10 Plus, Note 10, Note 10 Plus, Samsung Galaxy S20, S20 Plus, S20 Ultra, Razer Phone 2, Asus ROG Phone, and Asus ROG Phone 2.
ROG Phone 2, yeah, that was my guess, that the ROG phones were going to get that certification. That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
Super interesting. I don't know why it doesn't just work on all Android phones,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm pretty sure it's a control thing, because not all Android phones are built to handle constant gaming, which leads me to believe, it leads me to ask why they don't release a wider support limited by hardware. So, for example, in PC gaming, right? If you have a certain game, a lot of the times it will auto-detect your hardware, know what your hardware is capable of, and then automatically apply graphics settings to that. For example, in Android, the Red Magic 3 phone, it's a gaming phone. It's a budget gaming phone, but it has the highest end Snapdragon processor, and they're the 845 was the last one that was on there. They haven't made one with the 855, as far as I know. But definitely a capable gaming phone. It has a cooler in it, for God's sake.
Really?
Yeah, it has a fan inside of there that spins to cool your phone when you're gaming. That phone is definitely capable of gaming for a long time, but it's not on that list that you just mentioned. So Google is definitely wanting to control the Stadia environment as much as they can. I don't blame them, because you know, that was such a disastrous launch. Now they're trying to save face somehow.
Yeah.
With with controlled launches on unsupported devices, quote unquote. But I don't know. That's what makes sense to me when considering their strategy.
I mean, I could also see that since before they really only worked on the Google Pixels, I could see that maybe they also didn't properly. They didn't have the proper like information needed in order to be able to be compatible with the phones.
Yeah.
Like program wise or just like you said, certain specs. As well as working with new phones, they also announced that they promised, so I'm going to hold them to this because so far Stadia hasn't really been that great. But Google promised to bring more than 120 games to the cloud gaming service this year.
Woo!
That's a lot of games.
Yeah, that's like one, every 3 days? Yeah. 365 days,
Yep.
120 games, one every 3 days.
And then they also said that some of them will, of course, be exclusives.
Stadia exclusive games?
Yeah.
I wonder if those games will be exciting enough to draw the crowd to Stadia.
so far they said including 10 exclusives.
Oh, dang.
So we'll see if they can deliver that. I wouldn't be making these promises when they're still not constantly hitting what they announced they'd be hitting when they released.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of dumb to make more promises when you still haven't kept the original ones.
Yeah, you haven't fulfilled that. True. Yeah, they really need to clean up their act, man, because they're getting rocked by GeForce now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I honestly think that's what it was. They're honestly scared now, and now they're like, we gotta get something to strike more interest. We gotta stay in the news. We gotta stay relevant.
Yeah.
We gotta have people constantly talking about it.
For good reasons, right? Because people are constantly talking about Stadia, but it ain't because it was a great service. I'll tell you that.
And then let's see. On to the Nintendo Switch Lite colors. So far, they only announced their very newest color since last fall, and the new color is coral, and it looks kind of pinkish.
Kind of pinky. Yeah. I like it though.
I do like it. It looks clean. It looks nice. It doesn't look like bright or neon-y to where it'd be kind of like hard to look at.
Yeah, it's not a brush fire. That's not like a brush fire pink. It's a coral pink. It's tame. I like it. I rock that.
And honestly, up until reading this story, I did not know how cheap the Switch Lite was. Do you know how much it costs?
Isn't it like $159 or $169?
$182.
Still cheap.
That's still cheap for a home style console that's a handheld, because it's obviously the Lite. You can't dock it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad at all.
Nah. And I feel like a majority of Switch users use it more off the dock than on.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. The only time I've seen a docked Switch is at work. And that's because we have a small space dedicated to consoles for people to game on.
I would also argue that it depends on what games you're playing.
Yeah, very true.
Because obviously with more games on Switch now, Witcher 3, I couldn't see that being... I could see myself getting tired of playing it portably.
Mm-hmm.
I would want that on a big screen.
Yeah, Smash Brothers. I've seen that definitely more played docked than not docked.
Or like any kind of RPG, like small time RPG, like what's that one, Moonlighter. I could see playing portable because that's really fun. You can start and stop whenever. It's not really gonna affect you much.
Yeah, Pokemon.
Yeah,
Breath of the Wild. Those are games that Breath of the Wild I've seen it 50-50, played docked and undocked. To be fair.
Yeah, it really just depends, like you said, personal preference. Let's see here, sir. In terms of gaming news, I think that's all that I have, but I do have some discussions that I wanted to talk about.
Let's go. I love discussions.
Mostly how we predicted right in terms of the LCS games. Cloud9 is 8-0.
Cloud9 Cloud9 is doing so good, man. Their games are clean.
And on the opposite spectrum of that, CLG is 1-7.
Wait, who'd they beat? Did they beat Golden Guardians?
I have no idea. Let me look.
I want to say they beat either Golden Guardians or Evil Geniuses, because EG is not doing that well. I'm pretty sure EG's at the bottom of the standings as well.
I want to say the game CLG won was it their first weekend, or did they just win? Let's see here. But I'm so salty that C9 is undefeated the year. I'm like, man, screw C9.
Yeah, the year we're like, fuck C9. They got rid of Sneaky, and they go and dominate the LCS for the first time in like 7 years. Yeah, I'm a little salty, not gonna lie. I did not want to see that.
CLG beat Evil Geniuses.
Evil Geniuses, yeah, I had a 50-50 shot.
On week 3. Oof.
Yeah, big oof, dude.
And right above CLG is Liquid with 3-5, tied with Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, Liquid is doing so bad. They're doing really, really bad. Brox is finally on in NA. Mm-hmm. He's on Liquid. He's not making a big of an impact as people were hoping he was going to do. I kind of feel bad for Shurnfire, though, the sub-jungler for Broxa. The last game, I'm pretty sure the last game that he played with Team Liquid before Broxa came in, he was doing very well, and the rest of Team Liquid sucked. They were feeding, and Shurnfire was doing so well. He did what he could to carry Team Liquid, but they ended up losing anyway.
Honestly, I'm surprised TSM is as high as they are.
Yeah, at 4-4.
Mm-hmm.
And an even score. They're tied with Golden Guardians and Dignitas.
Yeah, I honestly thought TSM would be kind of near the bottom. Yeah, I haven't expected much from TSM for a while.
Yeah, same. I didn't think having Kabe as their ADC from Europe was going to make that much of a difference. And obviously, he has not made that much of a difference because they're 4-4. But they are doing better than I expected. I haven't been paying too close attention to TSM games to really say if Dardoch is a real reason why they're, is one of the reasons why they're doing better than we expected, although not amazingly, still better than we expected. Mm-hmm. So I have to pay attention to that. I just also realized just how ahead Cloud9 is compared to the league.
Dude, yeah, they're beating second place by, what is it?
By 3 wins. Because FlyQuest and Immortals are tied for second, and they're 5-3.
And 9 points.
Yeah.
They're beating last place by 21 points.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, CLG's bad, dude. Kind of with that, we saw the story right before we started recording. Mm-hmm. In that CLG is replacing their Korean mid laner Crown with Pobelter of all mid laners. The former Immortals mid laner who was coaching on CLG is now going to be playing mid lane for CLG in place of Crown.
He's like, if you want something done right.
Yeah. And that's probably what he's saying. Like that's no joke. That's probably what he's saying. I think this is an interesting roster move only because putting Crown in mid lane was like one of CLG's only roster moves for this season. Now Crown, he used to be the mid laner for Samsung Galaxy, one of the Galaxy teams. I don't remember if it was for white or blue or when it was just one Samsung Galaxy team before Samsung dropped their sponsorship. But he was a world-class mid laner. And like a lot of Koreans, they come to NA for that fat paycheck, and then they suck. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we are 8 games into the season, and they're getting rid of Crown and putting Pobelter in, that leads me to believe that there are some big problems going on in CLG that we don't know about.
I'd be very interested if they start climbing this ladder. Can you imagine if, like, say 3, 4, how many more weeks is left in this? April 26th. So
it's like 2 months.
Yeah,
2.5 months.
So imagine in like 4 or 5 weeks, they're back up to being fourth, even.
Yeah. It would take a miracle run, to be honest. Mainly because I don't see CLG beating Team Liquid. And these are the teams that are right above them in the standings, right? I don't see CLG beating Team Liquid. I don't see CLG beating Evil Geniuses. I don't see them beating 100 Thieves or Team Dignitas. The only team I see them beating is Golden Guardians. Maybe FlyQuest. Even though FlyQuest is at number 2 here, historically speaking, FlyQuest has always done well at the beginning of the season, and then they crash hard. Like hard. Like to the bottom of the standings hard. So that's what maybe CLG can usurp. Golden Guardians, FlyQuest, maybe Dignitas.
I can see TSM on an off day.
Yeah. TSM had a really good week a couple weeks ago where they went 2-0 for their week. And they've been on an uphill climb since then. But, yeah, I don't see CLG leaving 10th spot, dude, in the league. I honestly don't. I don't think Paul Belter's going to change that either, to be honest.
No?
Nah.
Oh, man.
Like, he definitely could, but will he? I don't think so.
Be the greatest comeback.
Yeah. CLG for the first time, our first place. Cloud9 goes on a losing streak for the rest of the season.
They end the season like 9-8.
Yeah. That'd be bad, dude.
That would be.
I don't honestly I don't see Cloud9 dropping this season. They may have a bad week where they go 0-2. But I don't think they're gonna. They're definitely gonna finish top 3 this for the split.
For sure, they've been killing it, absolutely killing it.
Yeah, Blabber, he's a great jungler for them. Sven has been a beast for Cloud9. I think switching him over from TSM to Cloud9, switching him over to Cloud9 was probably the best personal decision for Sven. Like as far as like. Him as a person, like how he feels in his day-to-day, how he performs in game. Probably his personal life has taken a major change as far as quality goes. In an interview, when they interviewed Sven, they kind of asked him that question: how's life essentially, in Cloud9 versus TSM? And what he responded actually came as a shock to me. He said there's not much of a difference. He said that how in TSM. They were a lot more critical about their mistakes, and in Cloud9 they take it just as serious, but they're a lot more constructive with their team building and with their criticisms of each other. So just a small change like that, we obviously see that it's doing Sven a lot of good.
I just found this story. It was posted 5 hours ago. .esports. So far this season, Cloud9 only has 33 team deaths.
Out of 8 games? It's not bad.
That's not bad at all. And they have the highest KDA of any LCS roster this split.
Yeah.
Their average KDA right now is sitting at 4.09. That's
super good.
Yeah.
Like, you'd want that KDA if you're playing Call of Duty, for sure. You'd be godlike, but... but for League of Legends, it's a little different, but it's still hella good.
Jeez. They've had a 91% dragon control rate.
Dang.
And have gotten Rift Herald in 81% of their games.
Yeah.
Have 100% rate in Baron and Elder Dragon control.
I think that speaks a lot to the meta right now. And how in the off season, right before the season changes, there was a lot of redesign around Dragon, a lot of redesign around the neutral objectives. The nerfs to jungle also hit that pretty hard. But I think that speaks a lot to how Cloud9 has adapted to the new meta and has put a focus on objectives and how that really plays to their jungler Blabber. He's a very, very aggressive jungler, so I think this is definitely his meta, to where he just makes the right decisions for how aggressive he is, so that even with the jungle nerfs, he can still keep ahead and then place his overall focus on the neutral objectives, and his teammates understand that as well. I think because of that, we owe a lot of that reasoning behind Cloud9's success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been having killer map control based off just these stats alone. It also states that they've always been the first team to take 3 towers this season.
Dang.
Which, that is so crazy.
Yeah, they're dominating, dude. They're dominating. I wonder how they would do right now. If we were to have MSI right now, how they would fare against the other international teams. Like G2, like Fnatic, like SKT, like KT, and any of the other international teams, I wonder how they would fare against them, honestly.
I'm obviously salty because, obviously, Sneaky's not on Cloud9, but if Cloud9 continues to dominate every split and goes to Worlds, they're definitely who I'm going to be rooting for. I want my Cloud9 skins.
Yeah. Sure, yeah, me too. This is the year Cloud9 wins Worlds. That's what we said last season, too. And they didn't win Worlds.
No, they did not.
Yeah. You know what's something that I really want to point out really quick?
What's that?
I feel like people are really quick to discount Sneaky, but I feel like in this meta, Sneaky would be doing very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be doing very, very well. Only because if you watch all of Cloud9's games this season, and you take into account what we just discussed about the meta, that's where Sneaky thrives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sneaky does well by not feeding, and even though he doesn't win lane, he doesn't lose it.
He's very good at being a passive-aggressive laner.
Right. And when it comes to map control, that's basically what you have to do, is make smart plays. You have to make efficient plays, and you just can't lose the lane outright to your opponent. And Sneaky does that very well. He's proven that that's the kind of player he is.
And even when he loses lane, I've never seen him get absolutely dominated in lane. Mm-hmm. It's always neck and neck.
Yeah, in the NALCS.
Yeah.
Internationally, it's a whole different story. Yeah. We've seen Sneaky in lane lol,
But he always manages, at least in the games I've seen. I haven't watched, obviously, all of his games, but in the games that I've seen, there's never a point in the late game where he's completely irrelevant. He's always, affecting team fights in a way that would work out better for them, or his positioning is always really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's not a selfish player at all. Like, he'll always go for, the team.
Yeah.
He'll always go for the team advantage in team fights. Mm-hmm. It's never to save his own skin. Like, of course, every player looks out for their own skin, but if Sneaky has to make a decision between saving his own skin for the betterment of his team or making one for the betterment of his play, he's always going to go for the team focus, the team advantageous thing to do in his situation. So that's just my opinion. I think Sneaky would do really well in this meta, but that's not what we're seeing right now because he's not playing in the LCS. That may be another thing too. He may just be burned out. Like, he's been playing pro for a long time. His career is very successful both in the pro scene and out of the pro scene. Let's give the guy a break.
Right.
Maybe he'll be back next season. He's a good player. He's proven himself an asset to the team environment that he's in.
And as I understand it, it's not like he's totally gone because he still helps coaching, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if he's coaching on Cloud9. I do know he's a part owner.
That's what
of Cloud9. I know he's playing Twitch Rivals right now.
Oh, is he
he's
really?
Doing pretty well. Yeah. He's on a team with Trick2G, Cookie, which is Trick2G's jungle duo partner, and their mid laner's Frost Prime. If you know who Frost Prime is, he's part of the Dark Main Magikarp Use Fly gang. And then their support is a girl that I don't really know. I don't know who she is, but yeah, from what I've seen, they're doing pretty well in Twitch Rivals.
I want Cloud9 to face the all female team that got booted.
Oh my gosh, dude, that'd be so bad. I want to play the all female team that got kicked from the Russian league.
Can you imagine how bad you'd feel though if we lost?
I mean, I would kind of expect that, but I wouldn't expect to lose as hard.
They are pros, so yeah. I would expect it as well.
Yeah. From what I remember... Okay, so let's cover this story real quick on the podcast since we're already talking about it. What's the team name? Vivectus?
I think so.
I think
I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up real quick. Anyway, in the Russian League of Legends league, which is like a smaller wild card region, so they do have to like qualify to they do have to do the pre-qualifier rounds to make it into Worlds. Ruben's laughing as he reads he pulls up the article.
You got the team name right.
Oh, really? Vivectus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Team Vivectus, it's an all-female League of Legends team. From what I remember, their owner is actually Likrit, who is also part of the Russian League, who became very famous a couple of world championships ago because him and his team, Albus Nox Luna, were the first wild card team to make it to I think quarterfinals of Worlds. I don't remember exactly what part of Worlds, but basically they made it out of the wild card region and they beat a major region to make it into Worlds. Anyway, this all-female League of Legends team has been kicked out of the Russian League due to being non-competitive. They had an average team death score per game of 27, which is a lot. And they failed to win a single game of professional League of Legends for 2 splits in a row.
I have 3 games of theirs in this article. It says, one game they lost 12-1 to Rocks at 21 minutes.
Which team?
To
Vivectus?
Vivectus lost to Rocks 12-1. Dragon Army, they lost 20-1 before 20-minute marks.
Oh.
And to Vega Squadron, they lost 52-2.
Oh my gosh.
That is domination.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, I'm pretty sure Vega Squadron is the best team in that region.
Dude, why would you not forfeit, though? Like, even if it's a pro game, I'd still be like...
Yeah. I don't think they're allowed to forfeit.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think they're allowed to forfeit in the pro league.
Oh my god, once it got to, like, 25-2, I'd be like, I'm done.
I'm done.
Like...
yeah, for real. I don't know if that article that you have pulled up mentions it, but Vivectus is a team that was notorious for being memed against by other teams. So, like, other teams would choose, like, really off-meta picks, like wild things, like, Soraka, AD Soraka mid, or something like that, and they would still win against Team Vivectus.
This is kind of messed up. I didn't know this until reading this story. But Vivectus, all the players in that team are ranked Diamond, and several of them main support as their role.
Oh, wow.
So they're not even all totally comfortable in their role.
Mm-hmm.
And all the teams that they're going against, their players are Grandmaster and Challenger players.
Yeah.
Which is a big difference.
That's bad, dude. That's really bad.
So, I mean, I kind of feel bad for them getting kicked, because it's not really their fault. They shouldn't have been thrown into this.
Definitely not, dude.
Especially if
not.
Several of them are support mains.
Yeah.
Like, find you some Diamond players who are in other roles.
Yeah. Well, and I can't prove this either, but I remember reading about this team a long time ago, maybe like a year ago, and I remember reading that one of them is ranked Gold 3.
Jeez.
Like, I'm Gold 3. Which is why I want to play their team, because I'm pretty sure I'd have at least a solid chance at beating at least one of them. And if I can beat at least one of them, then my team has a chance at beating them in the game as a whole. But again, I can't cite that article that I read. We could probably look it up in their player history, but I'm pretty sure one of them was like ranked Gold 3. So when I hit Gold last season, I was like, dang, I'm ready to go pro.
Ready to go pro in Russia.
Yeah, I'll go to Russia, play professional league. Heck yeah. If it makes more than $12 an hour, then I'll do it. I'll learn Russian. What's up?
Let's see. The team, however, even though they were kicked out of the league and are prohibited from participating in the 2020 season, it says that they are still able to play in the Open Cup, and if they are successful or show an increase in competitiveness, they will be allowed to rejoin the LCL.
Yeah, so it's not like they're barred forever. Like,
Yeah,
they have they're going to have opportunities to prove that they can compete in a professional setting.
and if it is something that they want to take serious and they want to, I don't know if they were doing this to like say women can play games too, or if they're actually trying to be competitive. But if they're actually trying to be competitive, I would definitely take all of this time to just practice.
Or just get a new roster.
Yeah,
Find new female players.
mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure there are female players out there that are better than at least one of the people on the current roster.
Get rid of the weakest links.
Yeah.
Like, it's messed up, but...
Sorry, you're gold 3. You're kicked off the team.
Like... oh, dude, that's... Oh, I didn't know that about the ranks. That's kind of cold-blooded.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's sad. Like, imagine if I was playing in the LCS and I got all this shit for being such a garbage tier player.
I'd be like, what do you expect? Like, look at my rank.
I know. In the post-game interviews, how do you explain your performance today? Gold 3.
I'm gold going against Grandmasters and Challengers.
I'm trying my best, okay?
I did my best.
Yeah. I'm on Evil Geniuses, and their PR manager's like, don't say that.
I was what was left in the bargain bin.
The scouting grounds ran out of people, so they just kind of picked me up.
They spent all their money on other players.
Our academy team is filled with silver players, actually. Yeah, but dang. Poor them. Poor them. I think... Did you have any other stories that we wanted to cover?
I believe that it... Well,
Or is that all the league talk?
I have one kind of small shout-out that I was surprised at.
Me too.
Which one? Is it Sanic?
No, not that one.
Oh. You go ahead and go first.
Okay. So, everyone who listens to the podcast, and Ruben, knows that I am a Biomutant fanboy. And I'm desperately waiting for that game to come out. But basically, earlier this morning, Experiment 101, which is the developer along with THQ Nordic behind Biomutant, posted on Twitter to assure us that development has not been canceled on Biomutant. Just to read the statement in full here for the story, they said, quote, "We know that many of you are wondering if the game is still in development. Let us assure you that we've never been working harder and more focused on it than now. We are doing everything we can to make this the best game all of us have ever worked on, and that it will be as entertaining and great as we can possibly make it. We can only hope for your continued support and patience as we complete the final stages of its development. As some of you might understand or know, the work involved in finishing a game is long, challenging, and unpredictable. The sheer magnitude, size, and length of Biomutant adds to said effort. We will reveal the release date as soon as everyone at our studio feels confident about hitting that date and that the game is ready for it." So it's happening.
What's funny is I seen that earlier and I was like, should I bring that up? And I was like, nah.
Pedro's
I was like, Pedro's got to bring it up. He's brought it up like the last 2 weeks. He's super stoked about this. There's no way he didn't see it.
Yeah, I saw it, dude. I woke up this morning and it was like Biomutant news, and I was like, hell yeah. Let's see what they got. But yeah, I'm still super excited for that game. I'm pre-ordering it. Just because for the meme, if anything else. Like, it could be a garbage game for all I know, but I've been, ever since the concept and ever since the demo footage that they showed about a year ago, like, it sounds like something that I would have lots of fun with.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen the demo, but I read the description of what it's supposed to be, and I was like, that seems like it could definitely be a good time.
Yeah. Especially if we get a bunch of us playing it at the same time, co-op together, I think it'd be really, really fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's always better playing a game co-op, I feel.
Yeah.
If that is it, sir.
I'm done.
Sonic the Hedgehog movie came out during this past week.
Yep.
Have you seen it or no?
Yeah, I saw it opening night.
What were your thoughts? Was it good? I haven't seen it personally.
I loved it. It's definitely a kid's movie, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Some things to point out here about the movie, positive and negative, whichever ones, but positive, Jim Carrey steals the movie. He is without a doubt the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I heard he did a really good job.
He did an amazingly good job. It gave me some of The Mask
Really?
vibes. Yeah, just not as cartoony. Like, replace the cartooniness level of The Mask with, like, cheesy 90s villain.
Uh-huh.
And that's the Jim Carrey you get in the movie.
And see, that's one of the things that I was super worried about, and why I was kind of putting off seeing the movie, is I didn't want it to seem forced. The way I seen him acting in the trailer was very, like, reminiscent of The Mask, but I didn't want it to feel like he was playing the exact same character, because it can get very tiring and make you not enjoy it, kind of like, unfortunately, like some Adam Sandler movies. He plays the same character in a lot of his movies, which, yeah. I mean, obviously, recently he's been trying to get out of. He did that super serious movie that got praised, Uncut Gems, I think it was.
That's on my list. I really want to watch that movie.
So I didn't want it to feel like like Jack and Jill Adam Sandler movie. Especially because, in terms of gaming, Sonic is what got me started. Sonic is always going to be my number one game, just because it was my original game. It was what got me started. Mm-hmm. But I was not expecting the rating scores to be higher than Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, on IMDb? Or,
Rotten Tomatoes, according to critics and audience.
Really?
So
What's the score?
Rise of Skywalker, critics is 52%. Sonic the Hedgehog, 64%.
Wow, really? 64%? I'd expect it to be in the low 70s.
Audience score for Star Wars, 86%. And for Sonic, 94%.
Yeah, 94. That's what I would give it. I mean, it's a really good movie. It's a really good movie, for a fun time.
I need to watch it because it's Sonic.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
I did get one thing spoiled for me. I don't know if it's an after credit scene or the last scene, but I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know it. Well, I mean, there's like two things. Yeah. Ruben just spins his finger in a circle. Yeah, so that was it. You kind of see some stuff in the beginning of the movie, like the opening scene of the movie, and you're like, oh, I know what that means.
Really?
Yeah. And you're like, I hope they expand on that, because they never touch on it in the rest of the movie. And you're like, you leave the movie and you're like, that matters. You're like, we're going to see that in the second movie for sure.
Please tell me it's something to do with Chaos Emeralds?
No.
No,
it has something to do with another character, for sure. But when you watch the movie, you're going to know exactly what I mean. You're going to see it and you're going to be like, oh, that's
I've heard a lot of places say that video game to movie adaptations, this is so far the best.
I would say yes. I think it finds success in that it doesn't try to be a straight to movie video game adaptation, but it takes a lot of inspiration from and lore from the video games and ties it into a visual narrative.
Now that makes sense. Now, I never played this game, but I know you've seen this movie. I'm pretty sure you've seen this movie, and I'm wondering how it compares to Sonic. But technically, Detective Pikachu is based off a game. There is a game called Detective Pikachu.
Mm-hmm. I've not seen that movie.
No?
No.
Oh, that movie's so good. Oh, well then.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie. I started watching it, and then I stopped watching it.
I want to know how it compared, but... Yeah. Because, I mean, that did come out during... That movie got outshined by other movies that came out around the same time. I want to say Endgame came out at that time. Like a week after. So they just got dominated by that. But that is all my stories, sir.
Yeah, mine too. I think we're ready to wrap up the podcast. We're an hour and 14 minutes in. We've done a lot of talking.
Yes.
We didn't have to fluff it up like we did last week.
30 minutes. We got 30 minutes to fill.
We're like, potato.
I know we were thinking about playing, but would you be interested in possibly maybe streaming some Risk of Rain after this?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so down.
So we'll be there streaming on either yours or mine's or both.
Probably yours, because I'm not sure if my laptop can handle gaming and streaming at the same time without sounding like an airport terminal.
I'm wondering if it would actually capture that, or if like you'd have or if it'd be able to like tell that it's not supposed to capture that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, as long as I don't have the microphone near, the exhaust, I think I'm good, which is totally doable. But...
And you know what else I realized? And I am an idiot.
What?
I'm saying we're streaming as though people are watching this live, and it's a pre-recording.
So we have to stop the recording. We have to post it on Spotify and Anchor, and post it on YouTube, and then people will get that we're streaming. They'll watch a day old stream.
I mean, the stream will be up there if people want to watch it. Twitch name is ninja_rubo.
Yeah, and then mine's, of course, twitch.tv/Pedro the Platypus. If you want to tune into mine. I'm going to try to stream. Give it
a shot, see what it's like on there.
Absolutely. I'll see how my laptop handles it.
I mean, you don't have to have the turbo on.
But
we'll see if the fans kick on.
That's literally... My laptop sounds like R2-D2
Dude, when you turned it on and I was in the kitchen, I literally kept thinking my bathroom faucet was running. Because I kept hearing it and I was like, is that water?
Yeah. That's the form factor, I guess. I'm actually thinking of buying a laptop cooling pad for it that has like 3 fans in it to like help draw out more air. But we'll see. It's interesting because I'm pretty sure those cooling pads are designed to suck air out, and the fans on the bottom of my laptop are the intake. And then it spits out the hot air through the back of the laptop and through the sides. So that may not make a lot of...
Tape it to the back.
Yeah. Or just flip it upside down.
I think I've seen the exhaust like on the back, not quite where the screen is, but like on the bottom half.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll do that. So without further ado, we will go ahead and end the podcast. Again, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your support just by clicking play on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, on YouTube, on Anchor, on your grandmother's Wi-Fi enabled toaster. Whatever it is, we really appreciate it. Go ahead and tune into our social media platforms at Instagram, Let's Talk About It Games, Twitter, Talk About Podcast, and Let's Talk About It Podcast on Facebook to keep up with any news. We haven't posted in a couple weeks that
I mean, we're not live
Instagram.
anymore.
Yeah, I think it's Instagram where we don't post links to the Spotify and YouTube as much as we did before when we were live. But on Facebook and Twitter, we definitely post when the episodes are live on all of those platforms.
One final thing that just came to my head that I totally forgot to mention that I wanted to mention is if you do not own Division 2, it is on sale till March 3rd for $3, which is a steal because that is still a brand new game and it is still $60.
Yeah.
So pick that up.
I picked it up. You should too.
Get a Division 2 crew.
Absolutely. Alright, gang. We are going to peace out, and we will see y'all next week. Roll the outro music.